Welcome back to the Educated Barfly. Today we are going to be doing an episode on, originally it was going to be called How to Use Green Chartreuse in Cocktails. Green Chartreuse right now is allocated and very hard to find. So what we decided to do is not just an episode on Green Chartreuse cocktails, but how to replace Green Chartreuse in your cocktails. That said, I'm going to go through all of the information on Green Chartreuse, and it seems like everywhere I turn on the cocktail making internet, someone is talking about this once obscure liqueur. Due to its rising popularity, and apparently the monks who make it coming out and saying that they are going to make less of the spirit so as to focus more on monastic life and duties, not only is it incredibly hard to find, but it seems like it's only going to get harder and harder to find over time, and it's going to become more expensive. But luckily for us, there are some great alternatives out there. So today we're going to talk about what Chartreuse is, what we can use as replacements when that bottle of Green Chartreuse is too expensive or out of reach. Today's episode is sponsored by ZBiotic. All right, let's face it, guys. I'm at the age where I just don't bounce back the next day like I used to. And so I used to have to make a choice about whether or not I'm going to have a few drinks in the night and then risk not feeling good, or just completely abstaining, not showing up to events so that I could avoid that. And now I don't actually have to choose because I can take my ZBiotics right before the event and feel great the next day for anything else that I need to do, whether it's shooting with Marius or picking up my kids from school. ZBiotics Pre-Alcohol Probiotic is the world's first genetically engineered probiotic. It was invented by PhD scientists to tackle rough mornings after drinking. Here's how it works. When you drink, alcohol gets converted into a toxic byproduct in the gut. It's this byproduct, not dehydration, that's to blame for your rough next day. So ZBiotics produces an enzyme to break this byproduct down. It's designed to work like your liver, but inside your gut, where you need it the most. Just remember to drink ZBiotics before drinking. Drink responsibly, get a good night's sleep, which is the most important thing, and then you'll feel your best tomorrow. Go to zbiotics.com/educatedbarfly to get 15% off your first order when you use Educated Barfly at checkout. ZBiotics is backed with a 100% money-back guarantee, so if you're unsatisfied for any reason, they'll refund you your money, no questions asked. Let's take our ZBiotics and get into making some cocktails. Chartreuse is a French Alpine liqueur based on a legendary Alpine liqueur called Genepi. It is made in two varieties, yellow and green, that differ in flavor profile and ABV. It's been being made by Carthusian monks since 1737 from a recipe taken from a manuscript given to them by François Annibal d'Estrées in 1605. It is made in the town of Voiron, France, and it is named for the Green Chartreuse monastery located in the Chartreuse Mountains north of, wait for it, Grenoble. Chartreuse is known as the elixir of long life, and like many of the first spirits out there, was created for medicinal purposes. Green Chartreuse comes in at 55% ABV or 110 proof, and is made by blending 130 different herbs and botanicals, macerating it in a sugar beet-based spirit. 30% of the botanicals in Chartreuse come from the Alpine region of France, Italy, and Switzerland, and then the remaining 70% comes from the rest of the world. So the process starts with the distilling of the spirit. Once that's complete, it undergoes a multi-stage maceration process over about 6 weeks to extract the flavor and color, and is then aged in uncharred French oak casks in the world's longest cellar. Interestingly, yellow Chartreuse has the exact same 130 botanicals in its recipe, but it has a much shorter maceration time of 2 to 3 weeks, and although we don't know everything that's in Chartreuse, we know that the yellow is sweetened with honey. A couple more interesting facts about Chartreuse. It's the oldest liqueur in the world, and in fact, the first time the word liqueur is ever used in history ever was on a bottle of Chartreuse. And the exact recipe is fully secret. Only 2 or 3 people know the entire recipe, and it's only those who are absolutely instrumental in its creation. So before we get into the replacements for Chartreuse, let's give it a taste so that we know what we're replacing. Brand new bottle. So on the nose, it has a pronounced amount of alcohol. You can really smell that ethanol in there. It also has an evergreen smell to it, a little bit like Douglas fir. It has some tea notes in it as well. It has like a noticeable alcohol bite, but it's not overly done. It's very peppery, evergreen kind of flavors, a little bit of chamomile I can taste in there. It has a pronounced sweetness to it that is balanced by a very, very subtle undertone of bitterness, and then kind of the high proof is also kind of tamping down on that sweet. It's still pretty prominent. It's a very complex flavor profile. There's also a very polarizing flavor profile. This is something that is a real shock to your palate if you're not used to it. It's kind of like Campari in that it's a little bit of a acquired taste. And to be honest, there are no real replacements for Chartreuse, but there are products which come very close in flavor profile. The first bottle we're going to talk about is Faccia Brutto Centerbe. This is a product that comes the closest to the Chartreuse flavor profile. It's made in Brooklyn, New York by a guy named Patrick Miller of Winkle restaurant in Brooklyn. He grew up in LA in an Italian family, and his company has been one of a growing trend of American Amaro makers. The Centerbe is fan-frickin-tastic. I have really high hopes. So the second is probably the most well-known Green Chartreuse replacement, Genepi des Alpes, named after the legendary Alpine liqueur. It is made in the Chambéry region of France by Dolin, which is a vermouth maker, and we use their vermouths quite often on this channel. This particular bottle is also a very good replacement for Chartreuse. It's just a little bit more sweet than Chartreuse. It has like a little bit more of a sweet bite, but it hits all those same sort of pine sap, peppery kind of citrusy notes. So again, it's not going to go head to head with Chartreuse tasting it neat, but in a cocktail, it is a dead ringer. And the third bottle that I have here is called Centum Urbis. At the end of the 1800s, a man named Pietro Bordiga, who owned a very famous bar in Turin, decided to take what he knew about plants and herbs and start making liqueurs and open a distillery. Bordiga makes all their own infusions, and they still gather many of the botanicals that they use in the Alps nearby. Let's get a drink. You guys have earned it. The Pago Pago originally appeared in the 1940 book How and When by Hyman Gale and Gerald F. Marco. But the recipe that we're doing today, the one that we're doing in this video, is an adaptation of the drink by tiki bar legend Jeff Berry. First things first, half an ounce of lime juice, quarter of an ounce of creme de coco. We're gonna take 5 of these guys, and we're gonna muddle them into the mixture. Or you could add about 3/4 of an ounce of pineapple juice if you don't want to do this. But I'm doing this because this is the way they did it when the cocktail was created. This is the way Jeff Berry does it, and so I'm doing it. Half an ounce of our Centum Urbis, and we're gonna use 1.5 ounces of Ron de Barrilito. Ice in the tin. You guys know the drill by now. Give it a nice hard shake. 8 to 10 seconds. So we're just gonna get a little tiny piña leaf. Who says these clips are passe? I rather like them. It's got like a little, nice. It's got a lot better balance than I thought it would. The pineapple juice and the Centum Urbis is really fantastic together. You get a little bit of that creme de coco on the back end. Also, the Bordiga, the Centum Urbis, has a little kind of almost coffee chocolate thing on the back end. So a little bit different in flavor profile from your Green Chartreuse, which adds to the complexity of the cocktail a bit. And then you've got the rum bringing up the back end there. What's also good about it is that I think the crushing of the pineapple gave it a little bit more subtlety as opposed to just being hit over the head with the pineapple. So there you have it, the Pago Pago. The Love and Murder was created by New York City bartender Nicholas Bennett at a bar called Porchlight. The original takes Chartreuse and Campari and blends it together. That is a very bold base for your cocktails. You've got 2 very polarizing flavors in there. Today, obviously, we're taking the Chartreuse out and we're gonna be using the Faccia Brutto Centerbe. Part of the reason why I'm using that is because it's from New York, and part of the reason is because it's very close to Chartreuse, and I feel like there has to be something that's a little bit bolder and a little bit more complex to stand up to the Campari. I'm a little nervous about this though, because I can see how Chartreuse and Campari combine. I don't know how this is gonna go. I hope it goes well. Let's get into making the drink. We're gonna do 1 full ounce of lime juice into our tin, 5 drops of 5:1 saline solution, kosher salt to water. We're gonna do 3/4 of an ounce of simple syrup, 1 ounce of the Faccia Brutto Centerbe, 1 ounce of the Campari here. Hey Marius, where did we get this glassware from? I really love it. It is my favorite shape of coupe.
I think you can get it on Amazon.
Oh, you can? Is that where we get these, on Amazon? You don't say. I'm gonna put a link below because I think all of you guys should have one of these glasses as well. Give it the old double strain. Very Campari forward, but I do taste the Centerbe on the back end. The lime and simple syrup's balanced. The saline solution's really bringing out a lot of those flavors, kind of amplifying them. Very Campari dominant, but now I gotta mix it up with Chartreuse. You know, that Campari is a lot less prominent than I thought it would be, although you do get that just intense orangey bitterness right on the back of your palate. What's nice about this is that the center bud does come through. I will say that those genepy flavors, that like Alpine flavor, comes through a lot stronger with your regular Green Chartreuse, but the Facchia Brutto comes in strong. If you like Campari, you're really gonna like this cocktail. If you don't like Campari, it's going to be a little bit challenging for you, but it is a must try. It is really interesting and very complex. It's a lot more palatable than you guys might think. But there it is, guys, the Love and Murder. The Prince Henry Punch was created by Los Angeles-based bartender, bar owner, and just general Renaissance man Pablo Moi. It was created for one of his newer bar programs that really focuses on tropical drinks, but not in the way that you would think. So right now we're gonna go a little bit tropical, and you guys know that that's going to be a pebble ice cocktail. 3/4 of an ounce of lime juice, 1/2 ounce of raspberry gum syrup. So that's a little raspberry syrup with gum arabic added to give it a little more texture, nice mouthfeel. I'll put the recipe in the description below. 6 dashes of Angostura bitters. 1/2 ounce of our genepy, which is gonna be our Green Chartreuse alternative. 3/4 of an ounce of agricole rum. 3/4 of an ounce of an aged rum. Scotia of ice, about an ounce, just to give it a little chill, a little dilution. And just do an ungated pour into the glass. Fill with pebble. And a nice healthy mint sprig on this thing. Give it the old slappy pants, crushy poo. I'm just gonna stick that right down in there like so. We're gonna do seasonal fruits. I made Marius go out and get seasonal fruits. He got way too many. Look at that. I needed 2 of these. Asked for a small one, that's the smallest one they had. There you go, kind of like a cobbler. Ooh, yeah. You know, it's not overly sweet. The sweetness is coming from the raspberry syrup, which, okay, it's a 1-to-1 simple syrup with a little bit of gum arabic, and so you get that nice mouthfeel, and it is pretty sweet, and then you couple that with the genepy, which is gonna be a little less sweet. You get those Alpine flavors. What's really crazy here is the combination of those Alpine flavors with the rum agricole, and then also that Fiji rum. The Fiji rum brings in a little funkiness. The rum agricole brings in that like grassy lemongrass kind of flavor, and it makes for a really interesting cocktail. It is not something that is overly sweet by any means. Even though the lime juice is balanced out with 1 ounce of like sweetening agents, it's still pretty tart. I like my tiki drinks a little more body. The cocktail's a little thin. It's not something that I would like send back. I still like it, even though it's not like my favorite, if that makes sense. He actually used the Barbados expression of the plantation rum, so I changed the rum out here for something I think I would like a little bit better. So this is gonna be a little bit different than the original, just, you know, for full disclosure. So there it is, guys, the Prince Henry Punch. All right, guys, so 3 different products to switch out that chartreuse that you might be having a problem getting right now. Guess I'll see you guys on another time. Leandro out.